more breaking news out of the Senate right now. It is now officially considering an override of President Trump's veto of a key defense bill after a procedural vote a short while ago passed overwhelmingly. Joining me now, Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat of New Jersey. He's the ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And Senator, let me just talk to you about this news on the defense bill. Are you confident that the Senate has the votes to override President Trump's veto? And I suppose perhaps it's just a matter of time at this point.
Absolutely, Jim. The Senate will override President Trump's veto, the first override that he'll face, and now at the end of his term. And we're in this predicament at the end of the year because legislation that provides for the national defense that would give our service members a much-needed pay raise, take care of their families, help us strengthen against cybersecurity attacks, has been vetoed by the president, the first one to do so in nearly 6 decades. And so, this had strong bipartisan support. It will have a strong bipartisan veto override of his veto.
And let me ask you, when it comes to President Trump's call for bigger checks, bigger stimulus checks, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he won't split that issue from the president's other demands on election fraud and regulating the internet, this Section 230 issue. Is the prospect of $2,000 stimulus checks essentially dead tonight?
Well, Senator McConnell, the Republican leader of the Senate, often refers to himself as the Grim Reaper, and that's what he's done with his $2,000 check. The Democrats have been for this since March, a higher payment to families, $75,000 and under. The president says he wants it, although he said nothing until after the whole negotiation was done and the bill was sent to him. There are a series of Republican senators who say that they would vote for it. Well, then there's no reason to try to have poison pills introduced to it. The simple question is, do you believe that families struggling in America should get up to $2,000 instead of $600? I do. Democrats do. Give us a vote up or down. If you give us a vote up or down, I believe that would pass. But Senator McConnell doesn't want to do that.
And let me ask you about something that McConnell said. He accused Democrats of attempting to, quote, let wealthy households suck up even more money. What do you say to that?
It's a parallel alternate universe. I know this is Washington, but only in Washington could you give the richest people in America nearly $2 trillion of unpaid for tax cuts, and then say to families making an individual making $75,000 or less, that somehow is a rich person. Those families are struggling. Your station, CNN, has reported about long food lines, people for the first time in their lives seeking to get food at food banks, the number of people who are unemployed in the nation, the number of people who face eviction from their homes, the number of people who can't make their mortgage meet, and the list goes on and on. I don't believe that an American who's making $75,000 or less and has dependent children at the end of the day shouldn't be able to get $2,000 to try to get them through what I hope will be the last leg of this pandemic.
And I want to turn to what your Republican colleague, Josh Hawley, is trying to do, be the first senator to commit to fighting the election results when Congress meets next week. This promises to be a huge spectacle here in Washington, but the chances of this effort succeeding are basically zero. How will this reflect on the Senate and our democracy? What does this mean for American democracy, do you think, Senator?
Well, look, if Senator Hawley wants to indulge in Donald Trump's fever dream, he does so at the expense of his own reputation. And I think the American people will not take lightly to see anyone try to disenfranchise millions of Americans who cast their vote in an unprecedented way in this presidential election. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and vice president of the United States. Nothing will stop that. However, I can tell you from my perch on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, it is not good for the rest of the world, where we advocate for democracy and human rights, to see the very essence of our democracy undermined by those who would try to discredit it, when there are no facts whatsoever, when even a Republican majority Supreme Court of those justices sitting on the Supreme Court, several appointed by this president, have outright rejected the president's claims. That should be enough even for my Republican colleagues.
And switching gears, Senator, this is an issue you've worked on for years, but CNN has learned that Secretary Pompeo is taking steps to designate Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. Are there grounds for this, do you think, or is this an effort to create hurdles for the incoming Biden administration? As you know, when Joe Biden was vice president, Barack Obama reestablished diplomatic relations with Cuba. What do you make of that move that Secretary Pompeo is apparently moving towards tonight?
Well, no one's had a longer career of fighting against the Castro regime and their human rights abuses and their, destruction of democracy inside of Cuba. But at the end of the day, the state sponsor of terrorism designation has to be done on facts. If the facts substantiate that Cuba should be returned, because it once was on the state sponsor of terrorism list, then certainly I would support that. But we'd have to see exactly what is it that the designation is based on.
All right, Senator Bob Menendez will be keeping an eye on that issue. Thanks so much for that. We appreciate it. And Happy New Year. Great talking to you, sir.
Same here.
All right,
Take care.
breaking pandemic.